And yes, hey guys, it's Kevin again, and we are back for yet another podcast for Big Brother 28. Yeah, as you know, we have not talked about this season since the premiere, and safe to say, there's a lot to talk about since then. We had feeds on Friday. We have had technically 2 episodes since then. Unlocked has essentially just become a regular episode at this point, so we'll dive a little bit deep into some of the stuff they showed on there, as well as episode 3. But we also want to go ahead and talk about all the stuff that's been going on, whether it's the feeds, whether it's stuff they showed us in the episode, whether it's some stuff they showed us in the episode, but maybe didn't quite get the details right. We're here to break down all of it because naturally, there's a lot to talk about, especially in the first week of Big Brother. I feel like that's a lot of the time the most crucial week of the season. That's when things are still like freshly being made. These people still don't really know each other. We don't really know if things are going to stick. There's a lot of potential developments out there. Definitely, I'll say this, definitely more of a slow burn than what we're potentially used to, but certainly I think still a very promising start. But before we do get into all of that, I do want to go ahead and welcome my guest for this week, someone who hasn't been on my channel before. It's very exciting. You know, I tend to have a lot of the same rotating people, but this was somebody who expressed interest, and I was very gracious that he did. I don't know. I'm probably going to instantly regret it because I don't know what the fuck he's going to say about me specifically, but regardless, we'll go ahead. Here he is, Noah Hammerman.
Hey, glad to be on the channel for the first time.
Yeah,
Kevin, don't worry. I am going to try to be as professional as possible.
Okay, I appreciate that. That.
I'll try to refrain from any craziness.
Yes, the key word there with Noah is try. Because let's just say it's definitely not his strong suit when it comes to being restrained. It's like asking me to shut up. It's nearly impossible to do that. But anyway, we'll go ahead and just jump right into. Before we talk about the week overall, Noah, what are you thinking of this season so far? What were your initial impressions going into the season, and how are you feeling about what we've seen so far on the show?
So with Big Brother as a whole, honestly, it's been kind of hard for me to take it really seriously lately. Yeah. Just with the way they edit the show and the corniness of it, as well as all the scripted DRs, it makes it a little bit hard for me to watch personally.
Yeah.
But I will say so far this season, I think we've got a very promising start. You definitely have some interesting dynamics going on, some alliances have been formed, and some tensions have already been brewing. So while, yeah, you mentioned that this week may have been a bit of a slow burn so far, I think the slow burn is going to lead into an entertaining week 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think with Big Brother 26 and Big Brother 27, like those are 2 seasons where like we immediately was like kick-started into chaos. We started off 26 with like Angela's meltdown, 27
crazy eyes.
27, you had Vince being Vince essentially, and then just Rachel and Zay going toe to toe, and that really kind of set up the dynamic of this season. Like I said, the way things are starting off, at least right now, feels more traditionally what we expect in a Big Brother season. And in some ways, I think that's a little disappointing because I personally really like it when the game is so open you can't tell what's going on. But I also like seeing a bit more going back to, traditional roots. I feel like, we've had 2 seasons that have kind of kept us up at night because it's like, what the fuck is going to happen? There's no dynamic here. There's no one leading the charge. Like, what even is this season? We now have a season that feels like we can maybe breathe, at least for a little bit, where it's like there's crazy stuff going on, but nothing to the extent of what happened in the last 2 seasons. I will say right now, while there's some people I don't particularly like on this season, there's really no bad gameplay going on here. There are people who are making mistakes, but these are mistakes that can be corrected. And I think that is a huge difference from what we have seen in the last 2 seasons where people are putting their allies up or people are just, paranoid about stuff that isn't true, or people are just immediately confronting others. We're not really getting that yet this season. And I think, like you said, I think we're going to get there. But right now, it definitely seems like more of a slow burn so far. But Anyway, we're just going to dive into it now. Quick disclaimer, we are really only going to talk about episode 3 and the stuff that has happened on the feed so far. At the time of recording this, it is Wednesday. We have a day, or it is Tuesday. We have 2 days until the actual eviction takes place. And as a result of that, we don't know who's going to go. Normally, when I'm doing this, I will have covered the full week, but I'm going to be seeing the Odyssey around the time the eviction happens. So that's why we're doing this early, essentially treat this like how we would do like a double eviction, basically. But we're going to go ahead and just dive into it. Now, first thing, of course, to talk about is a couple things we did see on Big Brother Unlocked. 2 things in particular I do want to mention. We get this moment with Devens, how he initially entered the house, and he kind of, he was buddy-buddy with everyone. He gave everybody a hug, except for Taylor. Taylor was the only person that he kind of like didn't really acknowledge, and she took it very personally. And we don't see a lot of blowback happening with Taylor specifically here. We don't really see a lot of follow-up to this, but Noah, how do you feel about this specific moment? And do you think this maybe is a reason why what happens to Taylor ultimately does this week?
For me personally, I don't necessarily think it's that big of a factor. I mean, really what it was, Taylor didn't receive a hug from Devens.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I see it, at least, Devens enters the house. He's, the 16th house guest to arrive? So there's 15 other people that he's embracing, hugging, talking to, introducing himself to. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on in that moment. Yeah. So I think really it was just a simple mistake, like, oh my goodness, I forgot to hug Taylor and I totally meant to. I don't think there was any malice or any personal intent behind it. So for me, I don't really think that plays a factor into anything, but it certainly did for Taylor, as we see during episode 3.
Yeah, I think that ultimately it's just one of those cases where like Taylor was just the person that Devens didn't see. It wasn't something that he like intentionally did. You can understand why Taylor is upset by it, but it's for the most part kind of a nothing burger because we don't really see a lot of follow up with it. It's just unfortunate that, Taylor's kind of in the position that she is, but we'll talk about that. Now, there's something else that did happen with Devens in episode 1 that is definitely still relevant, but we'll talk about that once we get to the feeds because there's a lot to talk about there for sure. But of course, the big thing here is we do get official confirmation at the beginning of Unlocked that D has officially replaced Rachel. D Valladares is in the house, and kind of surreal, honestly. No, it's like we just saw her on 50, and now not only are we seeing her on yet another show, but we can see her 24/7 on that show. And just what is your reaction to D being in the house, being a full-fledged player? Like, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, I'm a Survivor guy at heart. Like, ultimately, Survivor is more my bread and butter. So to see not just D, but also Rick Devens in the Big Brother house, as you said, is completely surreal. And it feels almost like a fever dream. It's like I turn on the live feeds and I'm seeing D and I'm seeing Devens. And I'm so used to seeing them on my TV screen in the middle of the Fijian jungle. Mm-hmm. Now they're inside a house on a parking lot. So it's a completely different environment than what I'm used to, but I love it. It's a very similar feeling to Big Brother 25 when Suri was on. Never in a million years did we think we would have some of our favorite Survivor players in the Big Brother house. Here we are. And now fast forward to 2026, we've had 3, and not just 3, but we have an absolute legend in Suri, a former winner in D, and one of the ultimate fan favorites in Devens. So it's like 3 really great picks, ultimately, in my opinion. And with D particularly, I think her 45 game was stellar. She had one shaky round, but other than that, her gameplay in 45 was really strong. And then fast forward to season 50, she's the last winner standing, and I think there's a reason for that.
Oh, 100%.
So I think the fact that we're getting a player at the caliber of D is phenomenal, and I'm super excited to see what she does throughout the season. And I think what she's done so far has been really good, and I think speaks to just how good of a game player she is in these sort of games.
Yeah, and I mean, I said this when I first heard that she was coming into the house. I think Dee's a perfect pick for Big Brother. I think that she was kind of tailor-made for the game. Her type of strategy is one that is very much one that is applicable to Big Brother. But she's also somebody that she just is very good at these things. She loves gaming. She loves, how she's able to like gain control and things like that. I knew that she was going to do a really good job, and I'm very impressed by what I've seen so far. We're only 1 week in, and I already feel like this is the Dee that we were hoping to see. I don't really feel like there's anything she's done so far that has disappointed me. I've only been impressed by what she's done, and I really like what I've been seeing from her. So it's just really great to see her on the show. But anyway, we get to the HOH here. Basically, the way it's going to work, I actually end up liking quite a bit. It kind of alleviated my whole the whole complaints I had about how I didn't like that it was only the legends that were able to compete in the HOH, because it turns out that 4 other people on the cast are actually helping these legends out. And the team that ends up losing just become like have-nots for the week, essentially. And so it's this puzzle challenge, and Dee absolutely crushes this challenge. There's really no real competition here. I mean, I had a feeling once we saw that it was like Dee, Devens, and Angela. 1, I mean, I knew because of Hamster Watch. 2, just based on the fact that it was Dee, Devens, and Angela, it's like, okay, Dee probably has this. I think there's a very good chance that she ends up winning this challenge, and that's exactly what happens. She wins the challenge, and as a result, not only has Dee now come into the house, but she is automatically the HOH. Like, what an insane series of events. Imagine, Noah, like you're not even in the game. You literally just step in and immediately you're, in a powerful position. Like I can't even imagine how I would be in that scenario. I certainly don't think I would handle it as well as Dee does here.
Oh, there's no way. I would be more similar to Angela back in Big Brother 26. I would be going crazy. I would be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking in my ear. I don't even know these people. I have to nominate these people for eviction. Mm-hmm. Like, my head would just be swirling with so many thoughts. I wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night. So I think the way Dee's been handling this has been phenomenal, honestly.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, again, just the idea of like she just came in, barely got to know anybody, immediately is HOH. It's a very overwhelming feeling, but I think it really does put Dee at this advantage here where like people are immediately going to want to go to her. And, we see on the flip side, Devens' team is the one that came in last place. So he is the one that is the have-not for the week. But let's talk about Dee's HOH here a little bit, because she's ecstatic to be the new HOH. This first week, she thinks is going to be very tough, but immediately Angela goes to her. And this is a completely different Angela so far. The Angela that we're seeing this season kind of feels like what we could have gotten if Angela was actually able to believe like the alliance that she, that the alliance that she was initially pulled into was a legitimate thing, and that there was a chance for her to actually have some sway there. Here, we're actually getting to see that, where she goes to Dee and she tells her straight up that, look, my HOH was a disaster. I was, way too over the top. I kind of just like hibernated the entire time. And, I want to make sure that we're on the same page here. And, I thought this was a really good moment for Angela and Dee, where they're kind of able to kind of solidify things. You see the fact they lock in pretty early. And this is exactly what you need to do with the first HOH, is try to get to them as soon as possible. Angela already knows that's something that she has to do, but she also knows what she did wrong. And what I'm liking about her so far this season is that she's kind of using that as a blueprint for everybody on like what not to do, recognizing that like she knows what she did wrong, but also using it as like advice for like, here's how you can do this better. Here's what I learned from my experience. I think that shows how valuable Angela is going to be to a lot of people. And I think we're going to see a very different side from her this season so far.
I agree. There's been a sense of self-awareness from Angela that I don't think I've ever really seen in a returning player of any competition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting to see Angela, who was known as being the crazy over-the-top player in her original season, come back and be so level-headed. It's a complete 180 from what we know and love or know and hate about Angela. That's the beauty about her. She's one of the most polarizing Big Brother players of all time, arguably. So the fact that we saw one side of her, now we're seeing the other. It's almost like a best of both worlds situation.
Kind of, yeah.
And so what we're seeing here now, I'm really looking forward to seeing how she's able to keep it up, because Big Brother is the ultimate pressure cooker. You will crack at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And we know when Angela cracks, she cracks.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if Angela even gets to that point now, because she's so in tune with herself and what she did wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I think, again, she's just so much more aware, but I also like seeing her like hang out with Devens and D. I mean, like, listen, I'm enjoying this more so far. I like that I have people on my side, but also kind of recognizing that, like, hey, I have an opportunity to, like, you know, do this again. And I said this when Angela was initially casted, like, I actually think it's a really good decision, because we're seeing somebody who wasn't necessarily playing the best game. Now there's a chance for her to show, like, you know, what kind of strategic chops, what has she learned? And it definitely does seem like there's quite a bit that she learned. Now, I'm still worried for her, for sure. I'm definitely worried for the Angela we know and love, and or hate, in my eyes, love, to be activated. But as of right now, she's very subdued in a way that I was not expecting, and I really like what I'm seeing from her so far. So again, really good stuff from Angela and D here.
It's almost giving me vibes from last season with Rachel, where you would expect Rachel to come in so over the top, so campy, but she got right into it, and she was just able to really get her head in the game and start doing a lot with the new players. It's giving very that. And I'm super excited about that, because they're kind of two players of the same coin. When we think of them, we don't think of great gameplay. We think of great characters, great television. So now we're seeing them in a situation where they're showing their strategic chops and their social chops. So it's a nice difference this time around.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking too, where it's like, you know, Rachel came in last season, people kind of expected her to play a certain way, but no, she was way more playing, you know, a social game. She was way more subdued. She had her crash outs, but really only when people provoked it. But it was always in a way where, like, it made sense why she was upset about this. It made sense why she was doing what she was doing. And I think for Angela, again, she's kind of in the spot where it's like, she knows what not to do. It's just, how does she prevent herself from doing that? Is she able to calm herself down? Is she able to play a more subdued game? The jury's still out on that, but so far, like I said, I think she's doing a pretty good job, and I like what I'm seeing from her. So definitely someone to keep an eye out on for sure. I do want to quickly talk about a couple things we do see before we talk more about D's HOH. We do get a moment here where everyone checks out the have not room, and it's probably the worst have not room, that one of the worst that we've ever seen, where, like, basically they have to sleep on this wheel, and that's already not great. But if it was just sleeping on a wheel, that would be fine. But it's a wheel that's,
and mind you, it's a wheel made of wood.
Yes,
it's not like it's something comfortable.
No, this is, it's entirely made of wood. And then not only that, to add insult to injury, this is a wheel that spins and has this really, like, creaky noise as it does it. No, I mean, this has got to be, like, in the pantheon for, like, top 5 worst, like, most uncomfortable have not rooms they've ever come up with. Like, the bumper cars, I think, will always be the worst from Big Brother 18, but this is, like, very close to you know,
I would have to, like, sit down and really think about it. I think modern Big Brother, like, post BB22, this is easily the worst. And I kind of love it for that reason. I love, it's not, like, really well decked out or anything like that. But it's so effective in its simplicity. It's just a really uncomfortable bed. But when you're in that really uncomfortable bed, it's gonna fuck with your mind.
No, it's definitely not going to be the greatest experience. And I mean, just watching the players sleeping and just having to endure all that, you feel bad, but it's also like really fun to watch because you have this like wheel just like creaking every 5 seconds. Again, I think it's one of the most diabolical ones they've ever conceived.
Agreed.
And I can't imagine like how terrible of an experience that must be for the have-nots. But we do get.
Now, just imagine if that wheel, instead of it being flat, it was like 5 individual wheels that were plastered on the wall, and that was your bed.
Yep.
That would be even more diabolical. Big Brother, if you want me, I can come up with some ideas.
Yeah, throw Noah in there. He's got, I'm sure he's got some great have-not rooms planned. But
some of them might not. Some of them might be reminiscent of Big Brother After Dark, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I don't know if you want to air that like on the show. You might want to just like not show it at all and just like show it on the feeds, and then like people on the show won't be able to see it. But I'm sure it's still a phenomenal idea, and I'm sure Noah, he's got a lot of stuff percolating through his brain, some of which you might not necessarily want to unlock, for lack of a better term, but I'm sure it's still really great in some capacity, and someone might be interested too.
We can talk about some of these ideas when the recording is over.
Definitely. So I do want to quickly talk about, we see everyone do their regular introductions, and we get some first impressions from everybody that I think are definitely interesting to watch. First off, we see Latrice is very worried about Angela based on how she acted in 26. We saw this in the premiere. We see it is still carrying over here. Noah, how do you feel about this Latrice and sort of her one-sided feud with Angela so far? I think, a lot of people came in, and I think we said on the cast assessment, like, we didn't really feel like these two would vibe. But, I mean, I think it's safe to say, like, Lala has a lot more, like, just kind of like, I don't want to say disgust, but just kind of this distaste for Angela that I did not expect so far.
I feel like the one thing about it, I will say, it feels natural. It doesn't feel forced by any means. And so I love that we have some sort of beef already just with Angela's pure existence.
Yes.
And I think part of it goes back to just Angela's very polarizing nature from her season. Lala could easily have been an Angela hater, and we just didn't know that until now. So the fact that this is now Lala's opportunity in the Big Brother house, and she has to share it with potentially somebody that she just completely disdains.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what more is there to really say about it? It comes from a place of pure, I don't want to use the word vitriol, but that's the only word that's coming to mind.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I saw people say something along the lines of like, they put an entire cast of like Angela haters here, and I don't think that's entirely the case, but Lala certainly is one of them. And I think definitely is going to be a problem for Angela the more this season does go on. So we see.
And I think for Lala as well, something that I know she mentioned in the diary room is Angela and Lala fit the exact same casting archetype of the older motherly figure.
Right.
So now Lala's having to compete with an already established older motherly figure for that title. So in Lala's head, there might be some competition going on with Angela too that we don't know about quite yet.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how some of this cast is reacting to the legends. There's another person in particular that's reacting even worse to it, but we'll talk about that in the feeds because it's not really shown on this episode. But safe to say, Lala, definitely not a big Angela fan. We see Haley is immediately taken with Kamu. She feels like he's really attractive and things like that. And we do get, I will say very quickly, this is a bit of a tangent from the feeds. They didn't show this on the show. Don't expect anything to happen there. Haley has made it very clear that she's not entertaining a relationship with him. She doesn't really want that to be a thing. She feels like, the two of them are just hot people, but she doesn't want it to get in the way of anything. I don't have much to say about this other than Haley's Haley. And you'll realize very quickly over time the type of person that Haley is.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is the person that described herself as a girl's guy.
Yes, it didn't even say it correctly, which is
exactly.
So yeah, that's Haley for you. We see Devens immediately feels drawn to Drew as someone he could bro down with. Now, they don't mention this in the episode, which I thought was really interesting, but these two actually do have a connection. And they haven't shown it on the show. And I'm kind of curious as to why, but basically Drew and Devens both competed on season 2 of Beast Games. And because of that,
no, they didn't.
Oh, they didn't? I thought
Devens didn't.
Oh, I thought Devens was on Beast Games.
To my knowledge, he wasn't.
Let me check that real quick, because I'm pretty sure they said they knew each other from that.
I think they mentioned they have the Mr. Beast connection.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. So yeah, they have
because Devens had the coin flip in season 50.
That's okay, yeah, that's what it is. So they have this connection through Mr. Beast, and that's something that is definitely going to potentially take the two of them far. So not surprised to hear about that. You know, Drew was on Beast Games. Devin just dealt with Mr. Beast in 50. So definitely a potential duo to watch out for. We see Drew feels attracted to Melody, but doesn't really want to entertain that because obviously he's worried that might distract his game, which we'll see later on. Other people should also probably go by that logic. But we see Jason is trying to hide the fact that he was in RuPaul's Drag Race. He just says that he was a drag queen, but Angela immediately recognizes him, and he does a great job of kind of like brushing this off, like, oh yeah, well I cosplayed as Ainsley once, so I'm sure that's what it was. But you can see that Angela's like already kind of like onto him and picking up on some things there.
And I will say this kind of veers into Feed's territory as well.
Yeah.
But Jason's been doing a really good job of hiding that he's, for anybody who doesn't know, Selena Estides from season 15.
Yeah.
And I mean, they made it decently far. I mean, they got to top 6.
Yeah, no, he made it. Yeah, he did definitely, you know, I think people have said, like, what is the benefits of him doing that? I think it really is just the fact that he doesn't want to be seen as just like Selena. He wants to really be seen as Jason. He wants people to see him as his own person. He wants to try to play a different game. So I completely understand why he wants to hide it. If you're given the opportunity to do so, you might as well take it. And I think that, you know, he's doing a pretty decent job at hiding it so far. We'll talk about some other things in Jason's game that isn't so great, but that's one of the things he is doing pretty well. There
is something I do want to talk about relating to Jason's game that I've seen speculated a little bit. That delves, it involves the whole twist of the season with the reality icons.
Oh yeah. Okay. I mean, we'll get into that when we get to the feeds, but I'm sure we both kind of have similar feelings there. But yeah, so that's kind of Jason. We see Rome is immediately feeling attracted to Lyric, and it is mutual because Lyric feels the same way. We'll say more about this later, but let's just say I think we have a new competition for fastest showmance of all time, because
I was going to ask if this is the quickest showmance of all time. No pun intended, but the quickest.
It's got to be up there, right? Because like at least with like say, as much as I don't like them, like a Matt and MJ, for example, that was like day 5 of the house, and this is literally like immediately like, you know,
this is day 2.
Right. Immediately, there's like some sort of connection there. We'll talk more about that once they get to a later segment, but safe to say, you already have a potential showmance for this season. We see Taylor wants to get to know Yash more. Don't really see any follow-up with that, except that she just wants to kind of get to know him. We see Barrett is admitting that Dee is his survivor crush, and he can barely function with her in the house. With her being a hardcore player, he feels like he's in a trap. A lot of people are already talking about how, like, oh, these two are going to enter a showmance and things like that. I don't think that's going to happen with Dee and Barrett. I think it's something they might explore, like, at maybe when the season ends. But I don't think in the house that's something that either of them are going to pursue. They're both very, like, strategic and very, like, level-headed players. And I just don't see that becoming a thing, but maybe something to watch out for later on in the season.
If anything, I see it being like a season 45 dynamic with Dee and Austin.
I could see
where
that too.
It's like kind of a showmance, but it's not really. It's just a really, really close alliance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is Dee going to be not D, sorry, is Barrett going to be as stupid as Austin was towards the end game? I don't think so. I think Barrett's smart enough not to do that.
Yeah, so far, Barrett is someone that I see as very level-headed. He seems to have a good grip on the game, and I think that he's somebody that he's not going to let that get in the way. You know, he's podcasted about this stuff, so, like, he knows the mistakes that Austin made, so I would hope he doesn't do the same thing, but, you know, it's what they always say about, like, don't meet your heroes, or in this case, don't meet, you know, people you want to simp for. Like, you know,
don't meet your crushes.
Right. It's usually not the greatest idea, but again, so far, I think Barrett's doing pretty good. The only other thing to talk about here is Ashley talks about how she's never had a hamburger before. And Devens is appalled by this, as are most of us, I'm sure. Because I don't know if you noticed in the episode, she says that she likes meat and cheese and tomato and lettuce, but she's just never had it.
And bun.
Yes, and beef and bun, but she's never had it like on a burger before.
Together.
I don't understand how that works, but okay.
I don't understand it either.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, Ashley and I are very similar in age. I mean, she's 24, I'm 25.
Yeah.
I had a cheeseburger when I was 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how do you go through your entire childhood and not eat a freaking burger?
I truly
and this is like, I'm trying not to be judgmental, but I'm probably sounding extremely judgmental.
Yeah,
because one, it's just unfathomable to me.
Mm-hmm.
But two, we also see in Big Brother Unlocked, I believe, that she likes to eat peas straight from the can and microwaved.
Yep, she did. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, Ashley is certainly quite the enigma, I must say, so far. Definitely has some interesting tastes, quite literally.
And real fast, I just want to put a disclaimer: like what you like, eat what you eat. I'm not here to judge people for their eating preferences.
Yeah,
I will point out if they are odd.
Exactly. Yes, Ashley. If you ever watch this, which I'm sure you won't, but if you do, we are not hating on you not eating a burger. It's just a little strange. So we hope you do eat that burger by the time you watch this video. But
by the time you leave the Big Brother house, hopefully somebody makes you a burger.
Exactly. One or the other at that point. But we see Dee has really no idea what to expect from Devens based on the fact that he is a familiar face, but they're both gamers, so she's hopeful they can start this game on a clean slate after burning each other in 50, and they get to work right away. Devens goes to her, and they kind of talk about how like they really want to try to play this game together. I think this was something a lot of people were worried about going into the season. Like, what is their relationship like? Are they actually on good terms? And well, if you had, dive deep into either their social medias, you would see that was the case. But, average Joe is not going to do that. So, I will think it's good that the two of them locked in as much as they did. They kind of established right off the bat that this is something that we need to do. We need to look out for each other. I love the moment where Devens goes to Dee's like, wow, this is like a merge so far with so many people.
I know it's like so niche of a reference.
Yeah.
But those that get it.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, how are you feeling about the Devens and Dee dynamic so far?
This was my dream come true for the season. Okay. I mean, just being a big Survivor fan, you want to see your Survivor players do really well. And now that we have multiple in the house, the fact that they're connecting and working together, it's a dream come true.
Exactly.
And now we add Angela into that mix.
Yes.
And this feels like the CBS crossover season that we've needed.
Yeah.
A little bit of unintentional foreshadowing there.
Exactly.
But, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we'll just talk about it. So they do decide to form a 3 with Angela. They really like Angela a lot. They want to kind of lock in. They're a little bit worried about how she's going to be if things don't go her way or something gets blown up, but they feel like they can do a good job of controlling her and kind of like, keeping her from, being Angela, basically. So the three of them do decide to solidify a group. And at that point, it's just about trying to find two other people. And while we see very early on, I really like the dynamic that Dee and Devens have here, where Dee basically wants to focus on, she's going to go to the more physical players, which we'll talk about that once we get there, while Devens is going to try to recruit those that they feel are kind of on the outside. So someone like a Drew, who everybody likes, but no one's really connecting with. He's not really been pulled into anything. They feel like Drew is someone that they can connect with, but he's not necessarily with anybody. And that's what they decide to do. They pull in Drew, and with Drew, they also decide to pull in Barrett. And so they have this 5, they solidify the crossovers, and seemingly this could be the alliance to watch out for. This is the alliance that, Dee says she is the most loyal to. We see that they all sort of have this mutual agreement. I think there's a very good chance this alliance does go far. Now, I do want to say potentially, because in the last couple seasons, we have seen that there have been these majority alliances that seem like they're definitely going to do some damage. Like, what was that alliance with, what was that alliance with like Rachel and Vince and Zach and all of them last season? I couldn't remember the name of it, but like that seemed like that was going to potentially.
Was it the? I don't think it was this, but the Judges, maybe?
No. The Judges was the one that was solidified towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
that's the alliance name that I can remember. I can't remember what this one was.
Yeah, it did end up being a thing. So like, I think that's why we don't remember it. But like, that was going to potentially be the alliance of the season. Same with 26. We had, the collective seemed like they were maybe going to be a thing. So again, it's tentative that this could be the alliance of the season, but this is probably the most confident I've been in a while that I do think this alliance could actually make a really deep run. And I think they do have a really good chance of potentially going far. Again, it really just comes down to, what really ends up happening in these next few weeks. But I think that we got a solid group of people here. Drew and Barrett are proving to be very strong players. Devens, Angela, and Dee have this agreement. I think this is probably the most solid alliance we've had in a minute, Noah. I don't know.
I would agree. I think
crossovers.
I think what helps is it's a group of 5. It's not a majority alliance, so we're not going to see any really big fractures. If we do, I don't think those big fractures are going to come up until like maybe the end of the pre-jury.
There's some concerns. We'll talk about that when we get to the feeds, but yes, agreed.
And it's not like we have a huge majority a la Big Brother 16 or dare I say Big Brother 21 with the Grateful Alliance.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think this is a likable group of people. So like we can root for this alliance and not be tired of them by the time the season ends. Now, if it is just them winning stuff over and over again, that's never going to be fun to watch. But again, so far,
I like Medi and Big Brother 22.
Exactly. Yeah. I like this group. I like the understanding that they have. I like the fact they've been able to lock in so early on. And I feel confident that if there is an alliance that could potentially start out early and get far, I really do think it's this one. But we'll really just have to see.
I think they have a really good idea where they have the main alliance.
Yes.
And then I think they're going to have a couple of branches for people.
Yeah.
But the crossovers will always remain that core.
Yeah, they don't talk a lot about it in this episode, but Drew especially has talked a lot about like parachutes and how like there are people that we could potentially extend to this alliance that won't know they're a part of it. So again, I think they've been able to lock in. They have an understanding, and I really do feel good things for them going forward. But on the flips,
almost like a cookout strategy.
Exactly. So that's the crossovers. But on the flip side of that, we can't really talk about the crossovers without talking about the subsidiary of the crossovers that they might think is the main alliance, but is very much not the main alliance. And that, of course, is the Red Corner. So we see...
Which, thank goodness this isn't the real alliance, because this is not the alliance that I want to see go far.
Very much not. So Kamu and Chuk, they talk early on. They kind of like have this mutual understanding. Oh, we're both really level-headed players, and we both can win a bunch of comps, whatever. I don't care about this. But they suggest pulling in Haley because they feel like basically in Kamu's words, it's like the girls always stick together, so the guys are going to get picked off, and essentially they feel, they don't say this, but basically what we gather is Haley is going to be disloyal enough to the rest of the women that like they can pull her in and she'll be more loyal to them. And we know that this was like Chuk's strategy coming into the show. He wanted to try to find women that would be loyal enough to him, so then he could then, so then he could trust them more over, they could trust him more over the other over the other women, and it seems to be working. However, it's also Haley, who is one of the most like anti-women type people you could meet on a cast.
Very much the tomboy of the season.
Oh, very much. I mean, she openly has said, she doesn't say this in the episode, but she's openly said on the feeds multiple times that like, too many women have won. We need to see a guy win. It's like, cool. Okay, you don't want to win. I got it.
You see, I didn't even know that. That is wild.
Yeah, she has said that a multitude of times. So yeah, Haley is definitely a good choice for them for sure. And so
it's not even like the past few seasons have been so heavily women dominated. Yeah. I mean, if we're just looking post BB22, so starting with BB23, Xavier and Jag, and then we have Taylor, Chelsea, and Ashley. Yeah. It's only 3-2. It's not that crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. But basically, they lock in, and pretty much they realize early on that Dee and Devens are going to be people that they need to kind of join in with, and this is good because Dee and Devens at this, coincidentally are talking about how the three of them, Haley, Chuk, and Kamu, have made it no secret that they're together. They know that they're hanging out all the time. They know that they're people that they need to pull in. And so Dee wants to try to work her magic with Chuk, Haley, and Kamu. And I love the way that she does this because her and Devens have this conversation, but she goes over to Chuk, Haley, and Kamu as if she just wants to be a part of this. Like, this is very much like, I know the three of you are together. I kind of want to lock in with you. I feel really good with you guys. Chuk, Haley, and Kamu try to do the thing of like, oh, we'll bring Chuk in. We'll see how he feels. But it's obvious that they're already working together. So there's really no point in doing this other than it feeling more organic that way. So Dee decides that, her and Devens are going to be included within the red corner. They establish this alliance, but Dee makes it pretty clear that like, I don't really fuck with this alliance. I'm kind of just here so I can keep them on my good side. And we can tell right away that this is not going to be an alliance that's very beneficial for Dee. It is in the sense where they are trying to protect her. In fact, Kamu says multiple times in the episode, I just care about what's best for Dee. And that really says a lot about how good Dee is already doing, that he's more concerned about that than he is about literally anything else. Like, I don't know what's in his best interest, because the way he goes about pitching things does not come across as I'm doing what's best for you. It comes across as I'm doing what I think is the right thing to do, where he sets his sights squarely on this trio of Melody, Lyric, and Mallory. Feels like they need to be broken up. She's got to put up two of them, but then he also wants her to put up Barrett, and he is insistent about this. Both of the times that they debrief, he mentions Barrett as a possibility, and obviously Dee is not going to do Barrett here, but wisely just kind of lets them like pitch things to her. And I think this is a really great strategy. It's something I've tried to employ in games before, where it's like, if I'm not really with you and I get the sense that like you're the one trying to like dominate things, I'm just going to let you pitch things to me. I'm not going to say much of how I feel. I'm just going to agree. And eventually maybe I'll throw out an idea, but I'm probably just going to agree with what you're doing. And that's exactly what Dee does here. And I thought this was just really great work from her, because she is doing a great job of sort of like making them feel like they are just controlling her and they're just telling her what to do, when it's pretty clear that like she's not really taking their suggestions.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where we're seeing Dee go to work.
Oh yeah.
And it's really beautiful to watch, because we're seeing why she's so good at these games. We know she's good, but with Survivor and the challenge, you're only getting an edited down, not even an hour version for the challenge, to my knowledge, and edited down hour of content for Survivor. You're not seeing the whole thing. With Big Brother, the beauty of it is you get to see everything most of the time, as long as the feeds are up.
Yeah.
But you get to see everything.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Dee is really just proving how she is that good. And I think there were people that were worried that, like, oh my God, is Dee going to be on the feeds and we're going to see it was like all in the edit? But I think we kind of knew that, like, Dee is as good as they showed that she is. Like, she is the best Survivor New Era winner for a reason. And we're seeing that before our eyes. So I would say so. But, you know,
it's between her and Kyle.
Okay, that's fair. I would throw Kyle in there for sure. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with the right corner. But let's talk about what Dee actually wants to do, because she makes this plan pretty early on that essentially, because of the fact that she was just kind of thrown into this, the best thing for her to do is to essentially pick one person from each group, one person from Devens, one person from Angela's, and then one person from her group. But who is it really going to be? We see she throws out Yash and Taylor potentially, but she also remembers what Kamu has said about Mallory and Melody and Lyric. And Mallory, she hasn't really locked in all that much with. And we see that there's an attempt from Mallory to try to talk to her, but it might as well have just been like just a passing conversation, because this is not effective at all. Mallory spends the majority of the she spends the majority of the conversation talking about like traveling. She talks about like places she's gone to. She talks about like hobbies she has. If you're noticing, she's not talking anything about game. And this is something that Dee immediately notices. It's like, okay, you're coming to my HOH room, but you're not pitching me anything. You're not trying to solidify anything with me. How can I trust you here? And Mallory, coincidentally, is kind of like feeling the same way about Dee, where it's like, you know, you're not really pitching anything to me. Again, not great work from Mallory here. I think she needed to really like try to form that. I think she really needed to try to like see where Dee's head's at. Obviously, it's hard to do that when the person's the HOH, because you don't want to butter them up too much to where it feels inauthentic. But I think what Mallory really needed to do is just kind of see like, who is Dee good with? Who is she working with? Kind of show why she might be a potential ally for her to scoop up. And she really didn't do any of that. And so it's really not a surprise what ends up happening to her later on in the episode.
Yeah. I mean, that conversation with Mallory was, it was not it.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
And it's one thing, I could understand it if maybe Mallory's strategy here was, let me just get to know Dee at first. Mm-hmm. Let's just have a regular conversation and see where things go.
Yeah,
I would have no issue with that. But that is great when you're just talking like downstairs.
Exactly.
Or if you're upstairs elsewhere. If you're in the HOH room talking, that's the interview room. You go to work, you got to persuade, you got to manipulate, you got to do what you got to do in the HOH room. That is the room of safety.
Exactly.
And there's always been that little aura of it. Yeah. You know, the HOH room has that aura of safety. Whether it be, this is now my bedroom for the week because I won head of household and I'm safe.
Yeah.
Or this is where I'm pleading my case in order to stay safe. Whether it be safe from the block or safe from eviction. It's always had that aura. So if you're going into the HOH room and you're just going to have a regular schmegular conversation.
Yeah.
Pack it up with that shit. Don't waste my time. I can be talking to any other person in this room, and it's going to be like clockwork. This person. All right, Kevin, let's go. Okay, good. Kamu, let's go. Okay, cool. Barrett, let's go. Okay, cool. Nobody wants to sit there and have a conversation about themselves and whatnot when we've got business to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, you know, she had the right idea, but again, not in the HOH room. If you're going to have this conversation with Dee, pull her aside when, like, you're lounging by the pool. Talk to her when you're, you know, at the dinner table with everybody. Like, don't do this when you're in the privacy of an HOH room. That is your time to say what you need to make sure that you're good with that HOH. And she really didn't do that here. And I think she knows that she fucked up. I think that's why, you know, things went down the way it did. Again, I think this is entirely recoverable for Mallory. It just wasn't a great first impression, especially because, again,
I think it definitely
gotten to know these people. Yeah.
I think it definitely is. It's just, I think that's a hidden thing, like an unspoken rule of Big Brother.
Exactly.
The HOH room is where you go to work.
100%.
You don't go to play, unless if you're the HOH and you're having fun with your allies.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is very much like, I didn't get a chance to talk to you till now. I'm going to try to just talk to you about literally whatever I can, but I'm not bringing up anything important, so this is going nowhere. So, yeah, not great for Mallory. The only other thing to talk about before we do get to the nominations.
Real fast, I just want to say, if I was D, I would have cut Mallory off. I would have been like, okay, this is great and all. Do you have anything game-related?
Let someone else go to the door,
Yeah.
Yeah, like, just try to just like lie and be like,
where's it going?
Yeah, just be like, oh, sorry, Taylor wanted to talk to me. I think we got to wrap this up right now. Like, look at your watch that you don't have, and just like try to get her out of the room.
Yeah, oh, look at that. Kamu's at the door.
Exactly. Yeah. No,
wait, why are you looking at your wrist to look at the door?
Yeah, there's nothing there, D. I don't know why you're looking at your. So, yeah, definitely not a great first impression from Mallory for sure. The only other thing I do want to talk about before we get to the nominations, though, is the fact that, you know, we have this Red Corner Alliance and it's very fake, and Devens is already trying to prove to people that it's fake. And I think maybe he's doing that a little too soon. He goes to Angela, of all people, and tells her straight up that, like, hey, there's an alliance that D and I were pulled into. It has Kamu, Haley, and Chuk. This is the name of it. Now, Angela's very happy to have this information. She feels like, okay, this is a way I know I can trust Devens. I know I have D. This is not stuff that happened to her in her OG season. People were, you know, walking on eggshells to give her any information because they were worried what she was going to do with it. And she recognizes, like, this is a fresh new start. I actually have allies now. And she is overjoyed to hear this information. And so when Devens is spilling this to her, it means a lot to Angela. And I think Devens definitely knows this. The problem is that you're not only telling Angela, you're also telling Drew about it, and D, he decides to tell D about this. And I don't think it was the right move for him to just flat out tell D, I already told Angela, because I think instead you could have just had D, you could have just gone to D and say, should we tell Angela? And then D can tell Angela herself. And then you can kind of make it seem like you haven't already done it, because D is not very happy that Devens has already spilled this. Even though this is not really a real alliance, she kind of wants to keep up appearances that it is a real alliance, but Devens is kind of just like ready to rip the Band-Aid off immediately. I think she's worried that it's going to get exposed. She's worried that people are going to figure it out. How do you feel about this move from Devens?
I actually don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it was the right move, but I completely understand why he did it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where he's looking at his relationship with Angela, I think, and he's like, how do I get closer to her?
Exactly.
The easiest way to get close to somebody is by giving them a really critical piece of information, such as an alliance that's out there. And so in his mind, he's probably just thinking, I'm doing this to strengthen my alliance in my relationship with Angela. I know Angela is going to appreciate this. So by doing this, I'm extending her that olive branch. I'm showing to her even more that I want to work with her and that we're in this together. Like, I'm not bullshitting you. And so for me, I don't hate it because of the fact that I think there's an intent to strengthen the alliance with Angela there. Now, I don't think he thought of all the repercussions. I don't think telling D was the right thing to do. I do agree he should have had a conversation with D afterwards where he should have been like, should we tell Angela? Exactly. And just pretend that he hadn't already told her and let D tell Angela herself. I think that would have been better. But A, I think this is an entirely recoverable move.
Oh, yeah.
And B, either way, I understand the move because I think there was some game intent behind it that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, like, Kamu, Haley, and Chuk are going to be the ones that are seen as, like, the targets here. You know, if that ever got exposed, it's going to be seen as, like, the three of them created that alliance and pulled in Devens and D, who didn't want to be a part of it. And now they're the ones that are being targeted. Like, I understand why D is concerned. Obviously, you never want an alliance to be exposed unless you yourself already did it under the intent that like we're exposing this. Like I've done that before in games. I've intentionally like named alliances things that I know this isn't like legit, so I'm just bullshitting, and like I know this is probably not going to be a real thing. But I think for D, like, you know, there's intention behind what she's doing, and her intention is like, this is a potential backup alliance for me if things do go sideways, but also Kamu, Haley, and Chuk are always going to be shields in front of me. I'm not really ready for this to be public information yet. And I think that's kind of more the issue. So again, I agree with you. I think the move itself is fine. It's just, he probably should have gone about it a little bit differently when he talked to D.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Also, another thing I just want to point out, Chuk, Haley, Kamu, they've done a pretty terrible job of hiding there together.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, it's not like, you know, every single conversation they have is just the three of them together and they never separate at all. And, you know, Kamu's always holding court in the same place with Haley right by his side and Chuk not too far behind or anything like that. You know, they're doing a great job of like doing their own things separately. Definitely not just always staying together at every point possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad for those three. I do not see those three lasting very long, and we'll talk about more of why when we get to the feeds. Safe to say, though, they're not doing amazing work. But anyways,
I can see them lasting individually. I don't see the alliance lasting very
one of them I'm not so sure about, but maybe the other two I would agree with you on, but we'll see. So
also, just to note, I'm not the best at volleying with some of your obvious sarcasm.
Yeah.
So like, just keep that in mind.
No, I get that. I am a very naturally snarky person, and I will try to dial that down if you are having a hard time registering that. So
I can usually register if it's sarcasm. It's just, how do I respond to the obvious sarcasm?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
because I noticed it there. I was like, yeah. And that's a terrible response, but it's not like I'm not trying.
You're doing just fine. You're doing just fine. But anyway, we're gonna go to the nominations here. She does ultimately decide to put up Mallory, Taylor, and Yash. We don't get a lot of info as to why she ultimately put up Taylor and Yash. We do with Mallory. Yash, it kind of just seemed like she had to pick between, I believe it was Yash and Drew, and obviously she wasn't going to pick Drew, so ultimately she did Yash. There was a possibility that she was maybe going to put up Ashley. She even talks to Barrett about this beforehand, and Barrett talks about how like Ashley wouldn't necessarily like be upset about it, and we'll talk about maybe her potentially doing something with Ashley a little bit later on. That wasn't in the episode, but she does decide to put up Yash here. Yash is not happy about this. He feels like, you know, well, I helped her out in the comp and she just put me up and now I want to gun for the veto. We see Mallory is very upset about it, you know, and we'll talk about her reaction is actually very much more important than this episode showcases. And we'll talk about why a little bit later on.
I think we'll probably see a little bit more of the reaction and the fallout from nominations on Wednesday's episode.
Yeah,
but there's something I do want to point out that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
When D1 HOH, her and her team had like this little group hug.
Yeah.
And she said that they were all safe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did forget to mention that part. Yeah.
But then she goes around and nominates Yash because she wants to nominate one from each group. If I'm Yash, I'm using that ammo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I will use it to make D look like the most untrustworthy person on the planet. Like, that would be part of my campaign if I was him. She promised the whole group safety. Not only did she go back on that promise, but then she used that in her rationale that she deliberately went back on the promise.
Yeah, I think the rationale is fine, and obviously it worked out for her, but it's definitely risky.
It's a great excuse.
Oh, yeah, especially if, like, you know, let's say she really had, like, genuine reasons, because I'm sure she did. They just didn't show it on the episode. I'm sure there were more reasons to put Yash and Taylor up. They just don't really showcase it here. I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect reasoning to be like, well, it's one person from each group. That's the only reason. But then in the back of your mind, be like, no, there is actual like reasons for doing this. But it definitely is risky to like go to your group and say you're safe and then be like, yeah, psych, actually you're not. And then suddenly just like, have them, assume that they're just going to be okay with it. I do definitely think that she maybe could have gone about that a little bit differently.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I noticed and was like,
yeah,
interesting. I mean, for all we know, she could have nominated Yash because they just simply haven't had a game talk.
And I think from what I heard on the feeds, that is likely what it was. I think that it was like the two of them, he helped her out, and then he just didn't talk to her. And she was like, okay, Yash is going to go up then because she doesn't have any real connection to him beyond that. And I think that's perfectly sound logic. And she's just very lucky that Dee is as good as she is because a lesser player definitely, especially like if this happened last season, like this would be like catastrophically bad for them. So yeah, I think Dee's very lucky that, like I said, she's as good of a player as she is because from what we've seen, while Yash is upset about this, he's not as upset as you would expect him to be. And I think that's good for Dee for the most part. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about with the nominations before we jump into feeds here?
Not really. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else from the episode, but I think we covered everything that I personally want to talk about.
Yeah, for the most part, I think we did. So yeah, with that, I think we're just going to go ahead and jump into feeds because there's quite a bit to talk about. Now, I will say, admittedly, in terms of like events, like big things that have happened, there's not a lot to discuss here. And like I said, this definitely feels more slow moving than most seasons, but I kind of like that because it is a nice change of pace from 26 and 27 where like you literally had to be like glued to the feeds 24/7 because it felt like you walked away for 5 seconds and like something else would happen. Especially like compare this to week 1 last season. Like it was like nonstop chaos going on. And that's not exactly the case this time. It feels a lot more controlled. It feels a lot more sort of like things are brewing, but they're not quite at the surface yet. They're going to be there soon, but they're not quite there yet. And I think the first thing I really want to talk about is the crossovers and kind of stuff that we have found out since the feeds have turned on. The big thing to talk about here with the crossovers is there's a little bit of hesitance with this group. There is, I think, there's a good chance that they do stick together and that they do end up kind of, just running the whole thing. But there's a little bit of concern when it comes to Drew. We see very early on that Angela and Dee, they debrief like basically every single night. And in one of the conversations that they had, and I believe this was on Saturday, Angela mentioned the fact that she didn't really like the fact that Drew wasn't really sharing information. She felt like this is something that she's a little bit hesitant about. And I think that there's a couple reasons why she's concerned about Drew. One of them is because of that, but it's also the fact that, well, Drew has mentioned before that he is very close to Melody, and Angela cannot stand Melody. She finds
there's a few people Angela secretly can't stand.
Yeah, but Melody is very much one of those people where like she makes it no secret that she can't stand Melody. Whenever she's talking to Dee, she's like the first name that comes out of her mouth, and a big reason I do think that she finds Melody to be she calls her the most fucking boring person she's ever met. I think that was her exact wording to Dee, and so I think that is a big reason as to why. But there's also the fact that Drew does attempt to correct this without knowing he needed to do this. Like Drew does something with Angela without knowing that he's kind of in hot water with her. So basically what happens is Jason, which we talked about before, he has really had Rick Devens on his radar. We know this from episode 1. We know that he mentioned before to Lyric that we got to be worried, we're got to be worried about Devens. We can't let him win the game. Yeah, we thought that maybe this was going to be something like, Taylor, where it's like a nothing burger. Not the case for Jason. Jason has if anything, doubled down on this. He has made it very clear that Devens is somebody that he does not trust under really any regard. He wants Devens out, but he's gone a little bit further now to where it's not only Devens, he's also going after Angela and Dee. And he talks about the fact that, they're kind of taking the spotlight away from us. They're the main characters. They're going to end up getting all the screen time. If we're not the ones that take them out, they will just end up taking, the place away from us. And to be fair, he is very much correct about this. I mean, if you have watched any season of Big Brother that features returning players, what are they more likely to show most of the time? The returning players. And I mean, I think the season that so far this is the most similar to is Big Brother 13, where it's like that season was all about like the returning vets and things like that. And I think, Jason has this concern that they're going to take that away. And I think that that's not necessarily bad logic. The problem is that, Jason, you can say that, but you can think that yourself, but that shouldn't be your main focus. And
no,
the problem is that it is his main focus. He goes to, what he should be doing, I think, is, trying to form like an army of sorts to, try to get people on his side, try to kind of feel people out, maybe like, very like soft launch the idea of like, okay, how do you feel about this person? How do you feel about Angela? How do you feel about Devens? Like, I think that would be the way for him to go about this. Instead, he goes to everybody with that exact same pitch that I just told you. And at first it seems to be going okay for him. He forms like a 3 with like Lala and Rome. That potentially seems like it's going to be a thing.
I believe it actually has a name.
It does. Yeah. It's Mama's Angels, I think, is the name that they have.
I thought it was Rome's Angels. It's something Angels.
Yeah, I'll try to, there's an alliance chart somewhere. I'll try to pull that up by when we're done here. Yeah, so he does that, but he decides to go to Drew about this. And let's just say Drew is going to be the person this season you don't want to go to things about, because he's just going to fucking leak it. And that's exactly...
He's already the rat.
Yeah, that's exactly what Drew does. He goes right to Angela about this, and here's the thing with what Drew does. I think him going to Angela and telling her what happened and telling her that this is something we need to be concerned about is fine. It's the fact he does it in this like public setting with multiple people hearing it. Angela starts to spiral that maybe this isn't legit. And maybe Drew isn't actually being sincere about this because of the fact that Drew tells her straight up that, like, Jason, you can't really trust him. Jason isn't really with you. Jason straight up told Drew that he, like, faked cried in conversations with Angela about his mom and things like that. And if I'm Angela, what I'm thinking about in that situation is, okay, if he fake cried during that, he also probably fake cried during a moment we had in this episode where he kind of was like, he opened up to her about the fact that like he hadn't been surrounded by a lot of straight people before. And they kind of bonded over the fact that like her son was gay and things like that. So Angela's obviously feeling very betrayed. Angela's feeling like, you know, this is really affecting her, and she's taking this very personally because she had this really strong connection with Jason. And so the problem is that she's kind of two minds about this. Where like she doesn't trust Jason, but she also still doesn't trust Drew. And it's because of the fact that she just isn't certain if this is true. The stories aren't quite lining up. What Dee is telling her that Jason said is a little bit different than what Drew said, because Jason only mentioned to Dee that he was going for Devens. He didn't really mention anything about Angela, so they're a little bit concerned about that. Noah, what do you make of this? It's seeming like, you know, the more the days go on, there continues to be less and less trust when it comes to Drew. We saw even today that Dee is starting to be very concerned about Drew and is starting to worry about him potentially like pulling away from them and maybe going to like Melody or something like that. What do you make of this potential tension here?
It's very interesting because the way that I'm kind of sitting here receiving this information is because I knew that there was a little bit of tension with Drew and the crossovers, and obviously I knew about Jason spilling the information, but something I'm not usually doing, is like synthesizing the information the way that a lot of other feeders do, because I'm a very recent feeder.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I just don't have time to really sit and analyze what the implications are for everything.
Exactly.
But for me, if I'm Angela, and one of my main concerns is Drew's not bringing information, the fact that Drew is not only bringing information, but bringing very valuable information. For me, it would be music to my ears. It would indicate to me that Drew really is with me, that he does actually want to work with me, because he's warning me that somebody that I'm really trusting is not to be trusted. Now, again, this is Angela we're talking about. She's always going to have that little bit of paranoia.
Exactly.
That voice inside her brain that's like, no, this isn't true. This isn't real. There's always going to be that little voice.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and
the way that I see it for face value. Drew is giving Angela really critical information. For me, that would ease my worries about Drew. But again, as I was talking about with that little voice in Angela's head, it could very well be a manipulation tactic from Drew, trying to pull Angela away from Jason. So I'm wondering, maybe that is also going through her head a little bit. Like, I think where the hesitancy comes from.
It's also the fact that, and we haven't talked about this part either, Angela has heard something very similar from Haley, who she also can't stand. Most people, in fact, can't stand. We'll get to Haley a little bit later.
I think Angela said, I fucking hate Haley.
Yes. Basically, she was told directly from D that Haley is trying to pit Lala and Angela against each other to get them to fight. And so I think the problem is when Angela hears something similar from Drew, it's like, okay, are you just trying to pit me against Jason? I feel like, Haley wants me to go against Lala. Drew wants me to go against Jason. Drew, you've seen my season. You know how I've played before. So, I know what you're doing. And I think that is really the concern for Angela. And I think for D, the reason D is concerned about Drew is because they're just not on the same page in terms of who they don't trust. D talks about how she doesn't really trust Haley. And Drew's response yesterday was like, oh, really? Why don't you trust Haley? Which was weird for D, because every other person that D has talked about has mentioned that they don't fuck with Haley. And Drew's kind of the first one to kind of push back about it and instead talk about his distaste for Lala. And so I think for D, it's like, is Drew really on the same page with us, or is he just kind of going around to everybody? And I don't think that is... I don't think that is an invalid concern, because Drew has already shown that he's very much a leaker and someone that you say something to him, he's just going to bring it back. But if you have noticed, anytime Drew does leak something, it's never, at least so far, it's never against the crossovers. It's always against Melody. It's always against Haley. It's always against, Rome. It's always against other people that want to work with Drew. It seems like he's all in for the crossovers. And I hope
if I'm not mistaken, most of the information he's leaking is being leaked to the crossover.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I hope that they're able to come to that realization, because otherwise I worry that this is going to go in a Heisem situation where Felicia and Suri are really concerned about Heisem. They take him out too early. He turned out to be a very valuable ally for them. And then they need him at a point where they can't, they don't have him anymore. And I worry that the same thing's going to happen with Drew here, because of just how much the paranoia is continuing to mess with both Angela and D as the days have progressed.
I think with Heisem, it also didn't help that within a span of 2 weeks, he won 3 competitions.
Oh, definitely.
So he made him out to be a huge comp threat. So I don't think that helped either. I don't think Drew really has to worry about that now.
No, I think Drew is intentionally throwing things and things like that. So I think it's good that Drew is with the crossovers again. It just seems like I think really what just needs to happen is Drew needs to talk to Angela one-on-one and say listen, I'm with you. What I told you was truthful. And I think that's really all she needs to hear. So if they're able to lock in, I think that could be really good. It just seems like right now she just continues to be doubtful about Drew, and now Dee's also becoming concerned about Drew. I think Devens can be the one to kind of reel them in and be like, maybe Drew's, and this happens last night. Devens and Dee have this conversation where like Devens is like, I think Drew's someone we have to worry about down the line, but I think he is with us. I think if he's able to continue doing that, I think that could potentially like keep the crossovers from imploding too early.
And I think something Devens really should do, because if we look at both of his Survivor seasons, in Edge of Extinction, he was super close to David. In Hands of the Fans, season 50, he was really, really close with Christian.
Exactly.
I think he needs Drew to be his Christian or his David and really lock it in with him.
Yeah, and I think he's been trying to do that. I think he knows that, like, I'm with Dee, but there's no scenario where I bring Dee to the end. So I have Drew as kind of like my backup final two, where like if things go south and I have to move away from Dee, I at least have Drew. And I think especially the benefit that Devens has is that he hasn't wavered from Drew. The other two have, and Devens has, all this tea that he could drop at any second. And I think that that's definitely something that to look out for in the coming weeks. Again, I don't think this is like Drew's going to go like in the next couple weeks, but you can definitely see Dee and Angela starting to become a bit paranoid as to what's going on there.
This is where I say I see the fractures really starting to form around the end of the pre-jury. So like maybe week 5 at the earliest.
Yeah, I can also see it. Yeah, I could definitely see it being one of those scenarios where it's like, you have a lot of the times when you have a majority alliance, there is that person that does go early. That there is that person that like people see as like, this is a liability for us. This is someone that we have to take out as soon as possible. And I think that Drew could very well end up becoming that person if he continues to leak stuff. If they hear from other people, he's leaking stuff. Because even though, yes, he's leaking stuff to me, I don't know that he's just leaking stuff to me. So.
Right. But also something else you got to consider right now, this isn't a majority alliance.
Exactly.
This is only a group of 5. Yeah. So it's not like they can really afford to have that expendable number at this point.
I think they know that. I think they know that like we can't really lose him right now, but we just really and I think Dee was even saying like we need to like sit down with him and see like what information he's gonna bring to us, not something that like all this information he spills to us. We just need to try to have a conversation with him. And I think if they're able to do that, I think hopefully things can be better with Drew, but we'll have to see.
Right. I still think overall Drew is in a really good position in the house right now.
He's playing demonstrably better than what I expected him to preseason for sure.
Yeah. So like I'm not really worried about Drew's position by any means, even within the crossovers, because I don't think that positioning issue is really going to come into play until, a week 5 or a week 6.
Agreed. I think it's something to be a little bit concerned about, but it's definitely not that much of it's definitely not something to be that worried about this early on. If you're a big Drew fan, I think he's going to be fine for a bit, but towards the end of the pre-jury, as you said, it might have to start, being a little bit concerned about what could happen there. But we'll have to see. So that's mainly what's going on with the crossovers. We're really just kind of hoping Angela does not ignite in the way we think she's going to and confront Jason immediately. And so far, she's doing a good job with it. The problem is that Jason has already kind of noticed that she's acting a bit off. She's not really being receptive to anything he's saying. She's kind of ignoring his conversation. She's kind of turning the other way when he tries to engage with her. So not great. Definitely not great. And I do think that this could potentially, because Jason's whole plan was like he wanted to do Devens and then Angela. This could potentially shift to him wanting to do Angela first and then Devens.
Yeah.
So
I'm wondering if Jason is ever going to have like a one-on-one conversation with Angela.
Yeah.
Because if that's the case, that could really screw Drew over.
Yeah, because I mean that's what he did really well with Dee. Dee is not really worried about Jason right now because Jason went to Dee and straight up said, "Yeah, I'm coming for Devens. I don't want to go for you. I'm just a little worried about Devens." And straight up told her that. He didn't even try to hold it back, and they were able to solidify a potential final 2. also potentially pulling Drew into that as like a 3, like, you know, the 3 like Latinos and things like that. They're going to stick together and that kind of thing. That's kind of like,
that also has a name at this point.
Yeah. It's, I
like
think it's
Cafe con Leche or
Cafe
something.
con Leche. Yeah. I think that was, that's what they.
Wait, Kevin, say that again.
Cafe con Leche, I believe.
You are so white. Oh my God.
Yeah. That is the final 2 that they established. So yeah, Cafe con Leche, that's the group with, that's the final 2 with Jason and D. Moving away though from crossovers, I do want to quickly talk about Red Corner because there's some stuff that's going on that they didn't really show. And the big thing is really surrounding Haley. And there's really no other way of saying this. You want to talk about the person that is like the biggest house target to not be nominated right now, look no further than Haley, because
she's the house pariah.
Yeah, I mean, the second that the feeds came on, I think we all noticed right away, Haley is doing a lot. She is in every single conversation. She is always interrupting conversations, and they're almost never of substance. She's either doing one of 2 things. She either is talking about herself and like glazing herself up about something that nobody really cares about, or she's trying to push an agenda that nobody else really wants. And the biggest, the most egregious example of this is with Lala. Kamu and Haley and Chuk kind of discussed this plan where maybe we should just get D to put up Lala. No one's really going to be upset about it. We don't feel like she's going to go. She'd be a good pawn. And D was offended by this because Haley kept trying to push this and saying like Lala has to go, even going as far as to say, oh, everybody would love for Lala to be nominated because she'd freak out and it'd be great television. And it's like, yeah.
And Haley, she's such an enigma because she's team fun feeds.
Right.
Like the whole thing with wanting to pit Angela and Lala against each other, the whole reasoning is for good TV.
Yes.
So like Haley is team fun feeds, but she's going about it in the stupidest way possible.
Yeah.
That is just pissing everybody off, including the viewers, because the viewers don't even like her.
Yeah, I cannot stand Haley. I find her incredibly condescending. She's always talking shit about the women. She's always wanting to target the women in some capacity. The house guests are also getting annoyed because she like leaves her shoes everywhere as if it's like her room and things like that. So Haley is just really rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. She's becoming a person that people kind of bond over hating. And that's kind of the reason that they're linking up. And so things are really not looking great for Haley right now, and things are not looking great for Chuk either, because Chuk is somebody that is kind of only working with Red Corner. He's not really trying to branch out. He's kind of only loyal to them. He only really interacts with them. And so there's a very good possibility that aside from Jason, who we'll get back to in a little bit, because I know there was something you wanted to say regarding Jason, it really does seem like if you're looking at targets for next week, Haley and Chuk very much seem like they could be there. Kamu could as well, but he is admittedly doing the best out of the 3. No one's really directly coming for Kamu. They recognize that he's doing a lot, but Haley is definitely becoming more of a problem than Kamu.
I think really the only way I can think that Kamu goes up next week is if the HOH looks at the Red Corner Alliance and says, these 3 are an obvious trio.
Yeah.
Let's split them up, and then nominates the entire set.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely collateral damage on Kamu's end if that does end up happening. But
even then, Kamu wouldn't be the target. The target would likely end up being Haley because nobody likes her.
Exactly. Yeah. Haley is definitely going to be fucked next week in some capacity. So really
here the Red Corner wins HOH, but
yeah, the only other thing,
3 out of 15 chance.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think the only other thing to discuss with the Red Corner is the fact that they seem to have this sort of like one-sided rivalry when it comes to Rome, we don't really know what the origin of this was, but what it seems like is Haley had a crush on Rome. Rome said no to her, went to Lyric instead, and now they all just want Rome out because of the fact that they think, one, they're saying Rome's a great player, but also Haley is very bitter about the fact that Rome chose Lyric over her. And yeah, not great for Rome. Rome is now like very much against Red Corner and things like that. He's now getting pulled into different alliances to potentially go after them. So if Kamu, Haley, or Chuk win the next HOH, which doesn't seem likely, Kamu has mentioned multiple times he doesn't really want to win the next HOH, that you could be seeing potentially like Rome on the block very early on, because they are seeing him as a really big threat. But that's really all to talk about with the Red Corner, at least as of right now. I do want to do you have anything to comment regarding that, by the way?
I just wanted to, suffice all of this with the fact that the Red Corner is not named after political affiliations. I don't want anybody to think that they're called the Red Corner because they're all Republicans and then send them hate mail for that. Like, that's not the case. It's said in the episode.
As much as we want to choose to believe it is not.
Right. But, I'm the type of person, I like to go off of the cold, hard facts. And from what we can see, the Red Corner was not formed out of similar political affiliations for the Republican Party. It was an alliance that was formed, and it's named after a Red Corner, which is apparently where the champions in the MMA fight from. That was explained by Kamu in the episode.
Yeah, it's not, but it's very telling that the three of them are linking up in the way that they are, and I think we know why they're linking up in the way that they are. But again,
I just don't want people sending them hate mail for that reason when it's not true, because you know how visceral the BB fans can get.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
I mean, straight up, part of the reason I'm hesitant to apply for Big Brother is because the Big Brother fan community scares me.
Exactly.
I know that they would rip me to shreds.
Yeah, for sure.
They'd rip you to shreds for being a yapper.
Listen, all I have to do is enter the show and they would just rip me to shreds. They'd just be like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he here? Why does he keep talking?
Why is he so short? Why is he so stubby?
Exactly. Why does he look like a potato? Exactly, all those things.
Exactly.
But yeah.
And also, the Big Brother fans say the wildest things on Twitter.
They do. They definitely
Seriously, I saw somebody say that Drew can grape them. And I'm like,
yeah.
Where are the standards?
It's BB Twitter. There really aren't any. But yeah, I think that's everything with Red Corner. I do want to quickly go back to Jason though, because make no mistake, Jason is not playing very well to start off this game. I think, again, like I said, I get Jason and him wanting to potentially target the legends, but the way he's going about it, it's almost like it's like week 5 of the game. It's like, this is like if what Corey and America tried to do in like week 6 of Big Brother 25 when they were targeting Cerie's side and things like that, if they just automatically tried doing that week 1. That's what
he's trying to flip the house structure against the vets,
right?
Within the very first week, with a vet as the HOH.
Exactly, and that's really the problem. Is that like he's not necessarily targeting D, and that's good for D. The problem is that he's not saying it like, oh, we need to target Devens. He's saying we need to worry about the legends, and it is working with Lala. Lala seems to be on board with it because she doesn't like Angela, and she, very similar to how Jason doesn't like Devin, she doesn't like Angela, and they're kind of bonding over that. But other people are like, well, why? I kind of want to work with Angela. People see Angela as like someone that they can go to for like moral support and things like that. People see D is somebody that they just really enjoy. No one's specifically coming for her. And so, again, I think that Jason has the right idea here. I really just think he's going about it entirely the wrong way. And I think what he really needed to do was honestly just go to the legend, say, listen, I've also been on a show. I'm kind of in a similar place to you guys. I'm trying to not tell a lot of people, but this is my way of building trust with you. And I think he honestly would have been included if that was the case, if he had done that. But instead, you know, he's kind of going in the other direction. And as we've seen on Big Brother, when you try to target the returning players so early on, you're going to end up getting fucked. Like, this feels like the Regulators to me. That's very much what this reminds me of. And we know how that went, and I hope that's not the case for Jason, but it's not looking great for him right now, Noah. He has alliances, but basically every single one of them is fake, aside from the one he has with, like, Lala and Rome. So I don't know. What do you think of how Jason's playing so far?
This is going to be a major spoiler alert territory, but this is the exact way Jason played on RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars. Very recently. Jason had a lot of alliances, and mind you, in Drag Race, it was only 6 people. He had alliances with 5 of them, and that's 6 people, including himself.
Exactly.
So he had an alliance with literally everybody. But he didn't have, like, any core alliance in Drag Race, so to speak. And everybody was kind of able to see through that. Now, what I'm hoping happens for Team Good TV is people are starting to see through that with Jason.
Yes.
And they put him on the block.
Yeah.
When Jason's game comes crashing down, the crash out is going to be phenomenal. I don't know if you've seen the clip on Twitter or anything.
I actually, I watched a little bit of it. It was pretty great from what I saw.
So, like, for Team TV purposes, I want that to happen.
Yeah.
But as somebody that is rooting for Jason, partially because of the fact that I know him from reality TV already, it does kind of suck to see that their game is taking the same path. Yeah. But also, another thing I want to talk about, I saw this theory mentioned on Reddit, actually. Yeah. Because something I do is sometimes I'll watch the feeds with the Reddit live feed chat. Something I noticed is somebody mentioned, I have no idea who it was, but somebody mentioned that part of the reason Jason might be so anti-vet right now, anti-icon, you could say, is because they're not considered a reality TV icon, even though they could be. They're not considered one. Yeah. And there's a sense of jealousy behind it.
Yeah. I've heard that, and then I also heard, and I think it was Taryn who brought this up on Rahap yesterday, that it also could be something about, like, an appearance fee where, like, he knows how much money Angela and Dee and Devens are being paid to, like, be there, and he kind of wishes that he had the same because he's also a reality TV icon. I think ultimately it's because of the fact that unfortunately, RuPaul's Drag Race is not a CBS show. It is on what channel is it on? I'm stupid.
All Stars was on Paramount.
Okay, there you go.
It's still underneath the Paramount umbrella. Yeah. But it's not CBS.
Yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, it's not fully CBS, and because of that, he just wasn't considered. I don't know if it's one of those things where, like, he initially applied, and maybe they did consider him for it. And then
I don't know about Big Brother, but he did apply for Survivor.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
His audition tape is out there in the ethers.
Okay. Yeah. I knew he was trying to get on for, like, a long time based on what he said in his preseason interview. But yeah, I think that's very much the case. I think it's a combination of jealousy, but it also could very well be that, like, I know that these people are going to be considered the main characters. I want to also be a main character. The problem is that, again, if historically when you've watched the show, you don't want to be the person early on to take out one of the main characters, especially from a, like, from like an us perspective, like when we're voting for, like, our favorites and things like that. That's not how you become a fan favorite. If you do it later on in the game, absolutely, that's a great move. But doing it early on like that, it's just not going to produce the result that you want. And I think that's ultimately where Jason's going wrong here. I think if you can have that opinion of Devens that you don't want him to win, but you try to get in with Devens but also try to scoop up the people that he's working with. And you try to slowly like turn the tide against him. I think that would be the direction to go. Instead, he is playing the game like it's a mini so far. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
I feel like he is playing a Big Brother mini and not a game of Big Brother that's going to last, for like 2 months. And I think that's ultimately where he's going wrong here.
And I think that's something a lot of people forget is Big Brother. And you can say the same for Survivor.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
100%.
But at least on Survivor, you can sprint and still do decently with how fast the new era of the game is. With Big Brother, due to the length of it, it's always going to be a slow burn. Yeah. It's never going to be a game where you can play fast and loose and succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. By the way, speaking of a mini, we do have a comment from an audience member.
Yes, we will talk about that at the end. But yes, be on the lookout for a certain mini that you might only have a couple days left to apply to. That 2 of us might also be on a prod team for. So yeah. Anyway, enough of our self promotion. And also, I think anything else we want to say about Jason's game specifically before we pivot to the last thing I want to talk about.
I think also with Jason, Drag Race was also filmed in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we're talking about how there's some parallel with Jason's game in All-Stars versus Big Brother.
Yeah.
I think that's another parallel here, which is that Drag Race was a sprint. You had to be thinking pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Jason is obviously thinking very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But this is the completely wrong setting. He's coming into this with that All-Stars 11 mindset.
Exactly.
When he needs to be coming into this with the Big Brother mentality.
Yeah.
Let things form, go with the flow. And then when the timing is right, that's when you make the strike.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's definitely the direction to go in. And that's a mistake that I think a lot of players make on Big Brother, where it's like you have this thing you want to accomplish, you try to accomplish it immediately. You don't, try to let it marinate for a bit and wait till the right moment to strike. And Jason, unfortunately, is already making some rookie mistakes that hopefully are recoverable, but it's not looking amazing for him. We'll have to see. So yeah, kind of hard to assess Jason at this point. The next thing I do want to talk about, though, and this does go into the veto as well as like who's going to ultimately be evicted this week. I want to talk about this trio of girls. So that's Lyric, Mallory, and Melody. We see that they're being pinned as a trio. The reality is that's not really the case. This is a group that I think really kind of like wants to stick together, but they seem to have like varying interests. And the problem is that you have somebody like Lyric who isn't really here for the game. I mean, she's in a good position where like people trust her.
She's playing Love Island right now.
Very much, yes. Like her and Rome, by no exaggeration, are already like a full-on showmance. And
day 2, they're macking on each other in the bunk. Like
exactly. Like the episode the episode did not like in any way like dramatize what's going on. It is literally we opened up the feeds and the 2 of them were already like kissing on the cheek. They were already flirting. There was baby talk happening. I was getting flashbacks to my ex, but that's a whole other story. But yeah.
I mean, literally day 7, the box of condoms is already open and we can hear heavy breathing, moaning.
Yeah.
It's clear that they were fucking underneath those covers. And like, it is day, 7?
Exactly.
We haven't reached the double digits yet.
I don't think we've seen. I mean, I think the one comparison I've seen people say is Sprenchel, because that one also took off pretty quickly from what I remember.
I don't think they were fucking within a week of the game.
I remember like week 1,
maybe week 2 during Rachel's HOH, but like,
it might have been. Yeah, it might maybe not the fucking part, but certainly like the relationship part happened pretty early on. And yeah, it's crazy, generally crazy. Needless to say, though, it's definitely hurting Rome more than it is Lyric, but I do think that it is causing Lyric to be slightly distracted from the game. She keeps talking about how I don't really want to play the game. I kind of want to get out of here. I kind of just want us to get to know each other and things like that. But the good thing with Lyric is that she's not Mallory, because let's talk about this. You have this trio, and you have Mallory and you have Melody. And Mallory ended up reacting, I think, perfectly normally to how you would be if you were nominated. She was crying. Yeah, she was crying. She was upset about it. But according to Melody, it was a bad enough reaction to where she felt she needed to distance herself from Mallory. And in a vacuum, I don't think this is a bad idea. Like, if you know that you're being pinned as a trio with somebody, you want to try to branch out and play your own game. The problem is that Melody tells literally anybody that she can find that this is something that she's doing. And so obviously this becomes a problem. People kind of leave the week not feeling amazing about Melody, feeling like, okay, maybe if Melody is doing this, then we can't trust her either. There was even a moment where it seemed like maybe Melody was potentially going to go on the block as Aurichio, but
it just makes Melody look like a really terrible ally.
Yeah, I mean, the nail in the coffin for Melody really was when Melody decided to essentially tell Mallory when she was picked for the veto that there's a chance that she doesn't use the veto on her, that if she won the veto, she probably wasn't going to use it, essentially. And obviously, Mallory's pissed about this, and rightfully so, because, again, they're supposed to be locked in. They're supposed to be this 3. But again, I think the problem is that Melody is thinking like a game bot and not as a person. She's so focused on trying to get a group of people together, but she can't seem to assemble that group. And she's also so focused on, like, how do I try to distance myself? But all she's really doing is further drawing attention to it. And so I think that's really, like, her problem is she thinks that she is kind of playing 4D chess, but in reality, she's playing, I don't know what the analogy is here, but basically she's playing Chutes and Ladders. There you go. She's playing Chutes and Ladders and not.
I was just going to say checkers.
There you go. That works too. I didn't want to quote Jackson Mickey, so I was trying to think of something else. But yeah,
I thought that's been a saying, like they're playing 4D chess, but really they're just playing checkers.
When I hear chess, not checkers, I think of Jackson Mickey. So I was trying to.
I've suppressed Jackson Mickey from my memory.
I wish, but unfortunately, no.
I also didn't start watching feeds until season 22. So.
That's a terrible time to start feeds, but I definitely can understand why.
Listen, my timing with Big Brother is horrid. Yeah. My first season ever was season 15. My first season with feeds was 22.
So you've had nothing but just great first.
I started with racism and started with boredom.
Oh yeah, and then combination of both for 22. So yeah, great stuff all around. But yeah, with Melody, like I said, I think she's just doing a lot. And how do you feel about the way Melody is playing so far?
Bad.
Yeah.
Like, there's always validity in thinking like a game bot and being a game bot. Like, at the end of the day, this is a game for $750,000.
Yes.
So, like, you do have to have a game bot mentality at some points. But there's also just the human nature of it. Like,
exactly.
Your ally is really pissed off that she's on the block. She's upset. She's crying.
Mm-hmm.
Your first reaction is to dump her in the first week?
Yeah.
Like, from a strategic level, it's terrible. But then also, just from a humanity level, it's like, are you trying to be the ice queen of the season? Because if you are, it's not landing.
Right, and I think, like, Melody is playing the game as if we don't have a blockbuster, as if the veto has already been decisive. It's already pretty much, like, been set that Mallory's going. If that was the case, okay, cool. Distance yourself from her, try to play your own game. But there's still a veto, there's still a blockbuster, and, well, spoilers, Mallory wins the veto, so it really ends up turning out terribly for Melody, to the point where she gets this close of becoming the renom. And I kind of wanted her to become the renom because I wanted her to kind of, like, see what Mallory had to go through and see, like, is she also going to react badly to what happened? That's not what ends up happening, but needless to say, not a great strategy. Not a great strategy.
Not at all.
So what I will say for Melody is that it does seem like she's starting to rebuild some of that social capital. She talked to Lyric. They kind of, like, locked back in. But every time I see Melody, she's always talking about, like, forming an alliance, that probably isn't going to happen. She wants Rome. She wants True. She wants Barrett. And it's like, these are great people to have, but Rome seems like he's more loyal to Jason and Lala than he's going to be to your group. You know, Drew and Barrett are going to be more loyal to the crossovers. So Melody just isn't in a great spot right now. And I think
she needs to really look at it, see who's with who, and then make the alliances from there. Because right now it kind of seems like she wants an alliance based off of pulling random names out of a hat right now.
Exactly. And I think she really needs Ashley, to be honest with you. I think that's the person she really kind of needs to like lock in with. They think very similarly. They're actually on very similar positions within the house where like they're not necessarily like hated. Well, unless you're Angela. If you're Angela, you can't fucking stand Melody. But like, they're not necessarily.
Angela's one person. We're talking majority. They're not Haley.
They're not Haley. Exactly. Like there's a way that those two can lock in and rebuild something.
By the way, problem is so funny to me.
Yeah. The problem is that, you know, when it comes to Melody, again, I think she just kind of tried to do something a little bit too early, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because, as we said, you know, Mallory does win the veto here. I think recovers pretty well. Like she kind of integrates herself really well after doing so to where people aren't really looking at her anymore. And now that she's won the veto, people are going to be less inclined to put Mallory on the block. People are going to feel like, okay, we can't really, you know, go after her because we know she has the capability of winning something. And it comes down to, you know, who is... Mike, I've said it now twice. I don't need to say it again. But yes, Mallory won the veto. There you go. I said it 3 times.
You should have given a headphone user warning there.
No, because that would prepare them too much. I got to do it when they least suspect it, you know.
I see you love bursting people's eardrums open.
Exactly.
You're the human equivalent of a have-not room. You love torturing.
That's my whole MO on this channel. Exactly. I'm glad you figured that out. But
I wish I figured that out sooner. I've known you for how long now?
In all seriousness, when it comes to Mallory, like I said, I think she's integrated herself pretty well. I think she's going to do fine. But who is D? And, you know, we get to the replacement nom. Who is it ultimately going to be? Seemed like it was maybe going to be Melody. Instead, it ends up being Ashley who gets put up on the block here, which is not great, obviously. I think Ashley has not done the best job at trying to integrate herself. She's had a lot of surface level conversations, not a lot of game related stuff. It does seem like this has sort of like ignited this fire under her. But I don't know if it's really enough to potentially save her, because here's the thing, and we'll talk more about what ultimately is going to happen if certain people win the blockbuster. The way people are talking about Ashley today, especially, it seems like if she's going to be saved, she's just going to go right back on the block. Like multiple people today were saying that, like, I want to save Ashley because that's somebody that I can just put back on the block. It's not, I want to save Ashley because I think there's an opening with her. It's, well, I can just put her back on the block and she's just going to be fine. And so it's really not great for Ashley. I think, again, even if she's ends up surviving this round, because Dee's target is still Yash. That's who she's wanted to go from the beginning. That is ideally what would happen this week, is that Yash does not win the blockbuster. Yash ends up going, but it does seem like there's quite a few people who don't feel amazing about Ashley. And I just kind of want to ask you, like, what do you think is going to end up happening here?
Right now, I feel like Ashley is going to be the one to go.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is Ashley is just talking to the wrong people. Yeah. She needs to talk to the vets.
Yeah, exactly.
She needs them in her corner right now.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what Taylor did really well in the beginning of the week, was she talked to Dee, she talked to Angela. She had these conversations where they felt like she did enough for them to talk to her. However, what I will say about Taylor is that today it does seem like she's kind of stopped campaigning. And so people are starting to look in the direction of maybe we do just get rid of Taylor. They know Lala's close to her. They know other people are close to her. So there is a possibility, if it is Ashley and Taylor, that Taylor could potentially go there. That is definitely something that could happen. If it's Yash and Taylor, I think Yash probably goes, although there is starting to be that sentiment from people like Kamu, who's like, oh, well, all the guys got to stick together because we're comp beasts and things like that. And if one of us goes, then all of us are going to go. It's like, that's not necessarily how it's going to work. If you keep bringing it up, it's more likely to become a problem. Like if you try to work with the women that you claim are all going to stick together, then maybe you have a shot. If you're trying to keep around...
I just rolled my eyes a lot there. Like,
right.
Oh, we're the men. We got to stick together. Woo, woo,
yeah,
strong, yeah.
Exactly.
Like, we're cavemen.
Yeah, that's exactly what his rationale was today. He was talking to Drew about it, and you could see that, like, Drew was not receptive to this conversation at all. But Kamu was just kind of, like, talking up a storm, and it was really funny to watch. But it does seem like there is that sentiment that we keep Yash around for that reason. But the thing is, I don't think it is a strong enough sentiment. This is not a majority thing. There's a lot of people who still feel like, even though Yash is campaigning now, Yash has not campaigned before. Yash has not talked this way before. I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like Yash is somebody that is acting different, and people are already drawing attention to it. So I do very much think Yash could go. I do also think, though, conversely, he is probably the person most likely to win the blockbuster. We don't know what the blockbuster's going to be. A lot of the time it is like, one of those where, like, you look at the screen and you have to, like, remember the secret, the secret word and things like that, or like the secret item. And if that's the case, very much a crapshoot at that point. It could be any of them that get it. But it is worth noting, according to Yash, and we haven't seen the Wednesday episode yet, but according to Yash, if Mallory did not win the veto, he was going to win. So that's what kind of makes me think that, okay, maybe he has, like, the upper hand here in winning the blockbuster. But we'll really just have to see. How are you feeling about Yash's chances? Yeah.
I feel like he's in a similar spot to Ashley right now, where I think either one of them has the potential to go.
Exactly.
And whichever one doesn't go, I can see the other one easily fulfilling the block star role of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that being the case, especially due to the fact that, again, that sentiment was used against Ashley today. And then again, as far as Taylor goes, like, I do think she put in a lot of good work earlier in the week. It does seem like people are starting to feel like she's not talking as much. She's kind of just chilling. Maybe we take her out. It was the same rationale that they were applying to Yash, and then Yash started campaigning. So I think what it's really going to come down to, Noah, is, like, what is stronger, the campaigning you get at the last second or the campaign you did earlier in the week that maybe somewhat faded out but was effective enough to keep you around? I think that's what it's going to come down to if it is Yash versus Taylor.
And for all we know, tomorrow, Taylor could campaign her ass off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because Tuesday and Wednesday are always the most, like, crucial days when it comes to the blockbusters. Like, things are not usually fully locked in, and they're still not going to be locked in until they know who's going to win, but they usually at least have an idea of what they're going to do. I think by tomorrow night, we're going to have a better idea of, okay, if Yash wins, then, so-and-so's going. If Taylor wins, so-and-so's going. We'll have a better consensus around that point. But, definitely not the most exciting, week one we could have had. This is definitely not, like I said, on the level of, like, Zay going or Matt going. Now, Yash going, I don't give a fuck about Yash. I'll just be straight up. Every time he's on the feeds, I forget he's there. He hasn't really provided anything yet. And so for that reason, I kind of want to stick around so I can see more of, like, what he brings to the table. But if he goes, kind of whatever. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with him. Whereas, like, Ashley, I really like a lot. I think she has potential. Taylor also, I think, has potential. So I kind of want Yash to go. But at the same time, if Ashley goes, kind of did to herself. And if Taylor goes, I think it really is due to the fact that she campaigned early on, kind of stopped doing so, and people just kind of took the opportunity. So I think there's ways all three of them could go, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like this is not a cut and dry eviction right now by any means.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, there are multiple ways for everybody to go.
Yeah.
I think right now the most likely to go is probably Ashley, which I would rather not.
Yeah.
I would rather see Yash go personally.
Sure.
To me, he's kind of just furniture.
Yeah, he's playing like an alternate. That's how I would describe him. Like that's the best way to describe him. We know he's an alternate, and I feel like he's playing like one.
Yeah, but I mean, with Ashley, I can see the thought process. Yeah. I can see Ashley's talking to people. I can see Ashley's trying to campaign.
Yeah,
she's doing it with the wrong people.
Yeah,
she needs to get in with the vets. 100%. She needs Dee. She needs Angela. She needs Devens. She really needs to lock in with them. Get that conversation going.
Yeah.
Because I also think part of the reason Ashley is on the block in the first place is that she didn't really have any good strategic talks with Dee.
Yeah, she didn't. She really didn't talk to her until Sunday. And by that time, like, she had a decent pitch. She tried to pitch Haley. But it just wasn't strong enough. Like, she needed to do that earlier on.
Yeah. So I think what Ashley really needs to do is she needs to have that conversation with Dee, really lock it in with her.
Yeah.
Because especially with Dee wanting Yash to be the target, I think if Ashley does that and locks in with Dee, it's going to be no question who Dee's going to want out then.
Exactly.
But right now, I feel like Dee even is a little wishy-washy because Yash is giving her nothing, Ashley's giving her nothing.
Yeah.
So in her mind, it's a matter of, well, both of these people give me nothing, so I don't really care.
Yeah, who gives me less nothing? And I think that's the only thing that I'm seeing from Dee that is a bit of a flaw. Like, people go to her and say, what do you want to do? And she says, I can't vote. And that's the only thing she's saying. And she's only really...
You see, I don't see that as that big of a flaw because the way I see it is no matter who you put up, what you are saying is, I don't care if you go home.
Yeah.
This is why I hate the idea of people going up as pawns. This is why I hate the idea of a pawn in general.
Yeah.
If you are nominating somebody, you are giving them a 1 in 2 or this season 1 in 3 chance of being evicted.
Yeah, I mean, she straight up told Ashley she's not a pawn. So, like, I think you're correct in saying that, like, Dee put up people that, like, she's kind of fine with whoever goes. It really just comes down. Like, I think she is confident Taylor stays. And I think she even said to Angela earlier, like, if there's a tie between Ashley and Taylor, she's going to save Taylor, which, I think most people would probably be fine with. But that's really the only thing she seems to care about. She would prefer for Yash to go. Yash is her target. But if Ashley goes... it's no real concern for her. And if Taylor goes, it's like, okay, Taylor's gone. I tried to save her, but it's all right. Like, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like Dee is sitting here saying anybody is like a number for her right now.
Yeah.
She's just looking at it as these people can go. I don't really care.
No skin off her back pretty much either way. So.
Which for week 1, honestly, is kind of the perfect scenario because at that point, especially with the position Dee is in, she's got her people, she's got her alliances.
Yeah.
Now she doesn't even have a vote. She just said, either one of these people can go home. I don't really care either way.
Yeah, I think either way,
I think as an HOH, no matter what you do, you're doing that. If you put somebody up as a pawn, you're calling them expendable, and you're saying, I don't really care if you go home. I'm willing to put you up. I am willing to see you go home.
I think it's also like we are so used to like last season where people would just like put their allies up because they like volunteered or something, and they kind of just saw it as like
so stupid.
Exactly. So I think it's jarring to see someone with an HOH where they're putting people up where they're actually fine with going. It's crazy concept, I know, but that's exactly what Dee is doing. And I think either way, this has been a phenomenal HOH for her, and I'm just really excited to see where the rest of the game really goes for her, because I think she's really set up herself extremely well. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that we didn't discuss that you think is important, like feed-wise? I know you watched a little bit here and there.
No, not that I can really think of. I think we touched everything that I wanted to touch.
Yeah.
I did have a question for you. This is something that could be going on for the rest of the podcast that I care. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like, who would you say would be, like, your winners and losers of the week?
Oh yeah, honestly. I mean, I think D easily is the winner here. I think that, and listen, you could say, oh, I'm biased, you love D and things like that. You came in wanting her to win, but it's like, let's just look at the week. Let's look at the way things have gone for her. I think especially seeing how HOHs have gone recently, because to be fair, when it comes to Big Brother, especially the new era, first HOHs have not been good. We have not had a good one, I would say, since Cody, maybe Riley, Big Brother 25. That wasn't the worst. Like, yes, things didn't go amazing for her, but also, like, she was forced to put up 4 people. She didn't really have a choice either way. So, it was one of those things.
I'm trying to think. Frenchie's was like all levels of bad.
Oh, yeah. Daniel.
I don't even remember who won the first HOH of 24.
Daniel, unfortunately. And then
his run must have been so unmemorable then, because I don't remember it.
That was the week that made me want to stop watching that season, because that's when Taylor was like getting ganged up on and things like that. That was that whole thing. And then obviously we had Angela in 26, we had Vince in 27. So like, finally we have an HOH that not only is going really smoothly, but is like reminding us how good a first HOH can be, the value of being the first HOH. There's so much that D is privy to. There's so much that she was brought in. There's so many alliances that she was brought into. There's so much information that she has gathered from multiple people. There's so many different directions that she can go. And ending the week on a note where nobody is specifically coming after her. They want to go after Devens. They want to go after Angela, but they're not coming after her, is a phenomenal position to be in. And so I think for that reason alone, I think D absolutely is the winner here. As far as the loser goes, little tough to say. You could probably throw Jason in there because his game kind of gets blown up a bit. You could kind of throw maybe Melody in there, but I think she recovered pretty nicely. I think I'd probably say Haley, because like just the amount of vitriol that people have towards her. There was a conversation today where I think it was Melody that talked about this. It was Melody and Mallory, I think, talking about the fact that they were specifically going to eat some sort of food as a way to spite Haley because she's a have-not and she can't eat. And so they were like, we're gonna make sure. Let me see. What was it? What was it that they said that they were going to eat? I shared it in a chat somewhere. Where the hell is it? It's somewhere. I'm gonna find it. Well, it doesn't matter. It was a food that they essentially were like, yeah, we're gonna make sure that we eat this because she can't. And so, yeah, people are just really not liking her. That the constant interrupting of conversations, her being in this position where she thinks she's running things and she's very much not, but also just how unlikable she is. I think for all those reasons and more, I think Haley has to be the loser. So I would say probably D as the winner and Haley as the loser. Do you have any objections to either of those?
I don't. I was thinking for winner, I mean, there's quite a few people. I think the winner, honestly, is a toss-up between any of the crossovers. I think all 5 of them have had a really strong week.
Oh, yeah.
I would say maybe sleeper hit as far as a winner goes, maybe Barrett.
Oh, yeah. Barrett's doing very well, especially the fact that people are including, similar to D, people are just kind of including him in everything.
Yeah, I was going to say Angela, but just the whole Jason stuff has me on edge with her in that sense of I want to say she's a winner this week. And I think overall she is.
Yes.
But I want to say she's the winner this week, but really it's rose-colored glasses I'm looking at it with, because a lot of my reasoning is comparing her first run to now. Yeah. Her first run, week 1, was such a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
That this week makes her look like Angela Giesling.
100%. So, yeah, I think Angela has a lot of potential. I wouldn't quite say she's the winner yet. I need to kind of see more of how she plays in the coming weeks, but definitely, again, a much better start for her than last time, even though the bar is not.
I think overall, I think the winner is definitely D. I think Barrett is a very good sleeper hit. I I think top 3, I would probably say Barrett, and then maybe Devens.
Yeah, Devens has got to be in there for sure. I would agree with that. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much everything. We're going for 2 hours now, which I think is to be expected for week 1. Like I said, we're not quite done yet because we still have the Thursday episode to talk about, and that is not going to be discussed for a little bit. As I said, I'm going to be busy on Thursday, so you will get my coverage on that on Sunday. Sean Dyro will be my guest for that. It'll be a great time. Very excited to discuss all of that. And, you know, I'll go ahead and close things out in a little bit. But before we do, Noah, if there's anything you want to plug or anything like that, go ahead and do so.
Yeah, so July 31st through August 2nd,
yes.
Myself and Kevin, actually, we're on prod for Radical Productions, and we are going to be hosting an American Idiot musical themed mini.
Yes.
As I said, it's July 31st through August 2nd. It's going to be a really fun time. Applications are still open. They do close on Friday the 17th, I believe. So Get those applications in. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a really exciting, fun time. We've got a really good season planned for y'all.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. If you're, you know, if you like these recaps of Survivor, Big Brother, and you thought, maybe I want to try it for myself, hit us up. We'll definitely go ahead and send you the app, especially if you've never played Orcs before. We'd especially would love to see you in there. That's always fun to see. But yeah, it's going to be a great time. Definitely look forward to that. Other than that, like I said, appreciate you for coming on. With me specifically, I do want to address some things I saw earlier in the comments. I saw specifically Josh Man Gamer was asking about movie reviews and things like that. Those are coming. I do have one that I filmed that I just need to go ahead and upload. There's a few also that I plan to do individual reviews for. Odyssey, you're absolutely going to get a review for. I will tell you that. I don't know in what capacity. It might be on my channel. It might be on my friend Violet's channel. I'm not really sure which it's going to be. But you will definitely get a review of the Odyssey in some regard, as well as I plan to do a catch-up of sorts of select movies and shows that I've watched. Not quite in the way you expect. I have a plan to do it. You'll see when that happens. Right when the time comes around, Mike, I swear to fucking God. But anyway, with that said, if you enjoy this video, I have a plethora of other reality TV coverage as well as other TV and movie reviews out there. So if you're interested in any of that, definitely consider checking my channel as well as subscribing. Love to be a part of all of that. But other than that, guys, for this video, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys later. Okay, bye.